Kenora MP Eric Melillo joins us for our weekly talk on national politics. Hey, it's James with Net News Ledger. Joining us from Kenora is Eric Melillo, the MP for Kenora, for our weekly talk on federal politics. Eric, welcome back.
Good morning, James.
Hey, let's hope our internet works like we always sort of say. That way it does. An exciting last 7 days in politics. You participated in the Conservative Convention. What was that like?
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting weekend having a completely virtual convention. I'm just impressed the way that the organizers were able to pull it off, rather flawlessly from a technical point of view, and making sure that people were still able to contribute and sort of make the convention feel as real as we could, with still being in virtual land. But I was very excited to be a part of it, and I appreciated the speech and a lot of the comments that our leader Aaron O'Toole made, and I'm just excited about moving forward with our 5 priorities that we outlined, and bringing that plan and building on that plan to present to Canadians.
It is starting to sound like the government is going to be bringing forward a budget. What are you hearing?
Yeah, they identified the day, I believe, as April 19th, on a Monday in a couple weeks, or in a few weeks here. I'm happy that we're going to be finally seeing a budget. We've broken the record for the longest time without a budget. This will be my first as an MP, my first budget day in my second year. So that just goes to show the incredible situation we're in. But obviously remains to be seen what's in the budget. I'm not going to speculate on what will or won't, but we're hoping to see, of course, sector-specific support for those that have been hit the hardest, and we're hoping to see a plan to get our economy going again, and a plan to get back to normal once COVID-19 is behind us. So that's what we're hoping for, and we'll see when the time comes.
There's a lot of speculation out there that we're headed to a budget and then very quickly to a federal election. And I don't want to ask you a hypothetical question, but that's sort of what's been out there in the public with what's coming on with the budget. Any ideas that you want to talk about there?
Yeah, I mean, I think this government has really just been posturing for an election for really since COVID-19 began. They were threatening turning routine motions in the fall into confidence motions to try to scare the opposition parties into voting certain ways. So they've been really just trying to steamroll their way through. They've prorogued Parliament. They've tried to suspend Parliament. It's clear that Justin Trudeau sees Parliament as a nuisance, and it's just something that he has to deal with, which is unfortunate because in this minority Parliament, I actually think we've been able to work together in a lot of ways and improve a lot of government policies, especially since the pandemic hit. So our focus is going to be on that path, on building a path forward for Canadians, on ensuring that our Parliament can work and that we can support those. Those who need that support right now. But if the Prime Minister is going to be focused on votes, then that's his prerogative.
It would be an interesting election in the midst of a pandemic with so many people getting, the vaccination numbers are climbing. Mm-hmm. That's the light at the end of the tunnel that isn't a train. And yet, there's still a lot of issue with the virus. I mean, here in Thunder Bay this week, we've had one day where there was 5 deaths, which was half the total number for Ontario, for a city or a district of 150,000 or so people. Right. That's pretty scary stuff.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've seen some of the challenges that a pandemic election can have out in Newfoundland and Labrador. They had to extend the election period. I think it was about a month. Because of some of the challenges with people being able to not only to campaign but to vote as well. Obviously they want to make sure everyone has that opportunity. So I think bottom line, it's it would not be responsible for the Prime Minister to plunge us into an election during this pandemic. As people, we know many people still haven't had access to vaccines. As you mentioned, numbers are continuing to climb, and that we're really not out of the woods yet. So it's frustrating that he would see this as an opportunity to hold on to power, when we would love instead to be able to work with all the parties in the House and see this as what it is, a crisis that we have to weather and have to overcome together.
There seems to be a lot more cooperation going on, where probably because of the technology opportunities to do Zoom calls and to pick up the phone or to email back and forth. Have you had a lot of engagement with MPs that maybe, you're new to Parliament, so all the changes that have happened, you're coming into it like it was business as usual, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I sort of joke around with some of the other MPs that they're sort of frustrated because they're not able to do some of the things they do that they've been doing every year for 12 years or 15 years. And I'm just saying, well, this is normal for me. It's there's nothing else that I know being an MP other than virtual meetings. But it's been interesting because obviously the virtual aspect has allowed us to keep connected and do our job. Get the job done. It hasn't been perfect, but it's been working. But it is strange that there are a number of members, even within my own caucus, who I haven't seen in person in over a year. So there's no question that aspect. I mean, that ability to build relationships and have that connection is I think it's more difficult during the pandemic. Virtual conversations are a great way to try to keep that going, but it's just not a replacement for the real thing. So hopefully we'll be back at it sooner than later.
A message for the riding, Eric.
I'll just I'll say I'm looking forward to continuing to get around the riding a bit more next week. This week I was sort of stuck at my desk with virtual Parliament all week, but we have a break week next week, and I'm looking forward to getting out to Dryden. I'll be in Ignace as well, meeting with constituents, and taking the drive all the way up to Pickle Lake as well. So I haven't been there in quite some time, and I'm really just looking forward to getting away from the desk and seeing some folks again.
Well, thank you, and we'll be talking again for next week.
Thanks, James.
To keep up to date, you have to subscribe. You have to hit that like button and hit the notification to stay in touch.